Put him in.
Oh, hello.
Trump with a V. Interesting.
Indeed,
Hello.
indeed. Yeah, because
All right. What's up?
you mentioned something earlier about Ukraine.
Yeah.
That the only way we could win is what was it? That if Putin cedes all his land back.
Well, that would be the best way. I'm sure that's the way that the Ukrainians want to see it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I really doubt the Russians would want to do that.
No, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think at this
Yeah.
point Ukraine's kind of cooked. Either way.
Yeah, potentially. I could actually also see it's being floated around that Donald Trump is gonna. I don't know if this guy's a congressman or a senator, but this guy is like a kind of like a big pro-Ukraine guy, and Donald Trump might be putting him as his the guy in charge of Department of Defense. So
I haven't heard any news about that. Granted,
yeah,
I've
this
been
guy.
I've been kind of busy with school and work, so it's kind of like a little hard to keep up with everything. But
Yeah. That's understandable. This guy apparently also there's a picture of him being held back when what's that Matt Gates got rid of the Speaker of the House McCarthy, and this
oh,
dude was apparently so mad that another representative was holding him back. So
gotcha.
ideally, for me at least, I do support Ukraine. So hopefully we continue to see support for Ukraine. Ukraine also might be cooked
Yeah.
because Trump might pull out support. We'll see. I don't know.
Well, I think even with economic support from the U.S., they're still cooked. Just on the simple basis of numbers, we could just look at the population of Ukraine and Russia, the resources Russia has over Ukraine, and Russia exceeds.
Oh wait, hold up. Your
Ukraine
audio
by
got
far
muffled a
both.
little bit.
What was that?
Wait, hold up. Your audio got muffled a little bit there.
Oh, do you hear me now?
Is there something on top of your mic?
Oh, what about now?
Sorry, you got a little bit more muffled.
Uh,
Okay,
do,
wait.
do, do,
Now you
right now?
sound clear. Now it's
Okay,
good.
okay, okay.
Now
I
it's good.
gotcha. Yeah. So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. With Russia and Ukraine, Russia has just so much more people and so much more natural resources than Ukraine. I don't think it matters how much money, which I think it's 175 billion last I checked. I
Yeah.
could be wrong about that.
Yeah.
That we sent
It's
to
a it's
Ukraine.
actually an interesting conversation to have. I was on somebody else's TikTok live. It was a Trump supporter's TikTok live, and he wasn't even speaking. He was letting the other Trump supporters argue, and we got into this conversation about Ukraine. Now it was real hard to talk about it because the guy got like really angry and didn't really understand the analogy. But he was saying like it's impossible for Ukraine to win the war unless NATO were to like put boots on the ground and you know I'm gonna steel man his argument about because he was kind of yelling, right? He wasn't really making great points, but
Yeah.
pretty much you need NATO on the ground, and it's not gonna happen under Trump, under Biden, whoever, right? But I was making a point. I feel like is relevant. I don't think it's impossible for Ukraine to succeed in defending their country. Let's say a good comparison is this: in Afghanistan has fought two superpowers within the last 40 years and won both conflicts. They were fighting the Soviet Union in the 80s, and they were fighting the U.S. in the 2000s.
Hmm.
In both cases, the U.S. and the Soviet Union completely overpowered them. Complete was a much bigger size and population, and strength, and wealth, and money, and literally everything. And in both cases, the insurgent groups fighting the two superpowers were both light infantry, pretty much. They did not have a sophisticated military whatsoever. Ukraine has a much more sophisticated military, has a lot more equipment, has a lot more money, has a lot more organization. It's not an easy conflict, and if Russia, say, got through all of Ukraine and essentially annexed it, they would still probably have to deal with an insurgency that would be costly, similar to how it was when we were fighting the Taliban, similar how it was when the Soviet Union was fighting the Mujahideen. Pretty much, when it comes to statements like who's getting cooked or not, we never know, actually. So, like, we just never know.
So I would respond with the war in Afghanistan versus the war in Ukraine's a little bit different. Firstly, Afghanistan's a very
Definitely.
mountainous place, doesn't have many natural resources. Plus, the insurgents fighting in Afghanistan were not just powered by nationalist fervor, but religious fervor too. Specifically, radical Islamic, jihadi sort of viewpoints. Which I don't know if
Yeah.
you ever,
No, no,
I don't
I
know if you ever
agree. I agree.
debated any.
There's differences.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know if you ever debated
No,
any
there's
Muslims.
differences for sure.
Yeah, that, and I don't think Putin's
There's
goal.
differences for sure, and
Yeah.
but
So
the thing is
let me
the
finish the
Ukrainians
point
are just in a
first.
much better position.
No, I would actually disagree with that. I think at this point, both sides are obviously entrenched in, right, and it's essentially a meat grinder of
Yeah,
where each side's throwing thousands upon thousands of troops at the other. The thing is, Ukraine has less troops than the
of
Russians,
course.
and ultimately speaking,
But in some
you
ways,
just do
with
the
the
math.
Western equipment, they got more advanced equipment.
Yeah,
But
but
at
the
the end of the
equipment's
day,
not
like
gonna
the front
equipment's
line
not
has
gonna matter.
the front line has barely moved. Besides the Ukrainians pushing into Russia at some point, that doesn't
Yeah, they
necessarily mean they're
took.
going to go to
I know
Moscow. But at
they
the end
took
of the
some
day,
land,
like
but that's not gonna matter in the long
Russia,
term.
while it has a lot of
And
advantages, does not have really what it takes for long term success. So,
no,
but I
I would
am,
let
there is
me
the prompt here, which is
I
Trump's presidency will hurt the American people. We can probably get into that rather than the nuances of war.
well the reason why I'm bringing up Ukraine is I think right now the current policy with Ukraine, at least under Biden, has definitely hurt the American people. That's 175 billion dollars that could have been used for infrastructure, potentially paying off the national debt, which I don't think it's solvable at this point because of Medicare and Social Security. Nobody's gonna get rid of those, right? But either way, at
Yeah, we can't get rid of that.
175
We had
billion.
Medicare and Social Security and a surplus under Bill Clinton. That's not like tremendous praise for Bill Clinton, but that's just that was the fact of the matter. Yeah, when it comes to what we're spending in Ukraine, yeah, sure, we're spending a decent amount of money, but ultimately it's like a fraction of what we actually spend on the military like every single year. So it really is not that relevant to the grand scheme of things. When it comes
It's
to
totally
investing in
relevant.
infrastructure,
What
Biden did invest in infrastructure. We can walk and chew
Yeah,
bubble gum at the same
what
time.
about FEMA funding out
And
and running?
yeah, we should invest more money into FEMA.
Yeah, and
It's not like
FEMA
Ukraine is stopping us from doing that. If
literally
you have a
FEMA
complaint
cited.
about the, if you
Yeah,
have a complaint
you can look at
about,
the
if you have a
statements from
complaint,
FEMA.
if you have a complaint about the FEMA funding, you should be talking about the folks in Congress that decide that in the annual budget,
Yeah,
right?
that instead
I agree.
gave that money to Ukraine.
We should have more disaster relief.
Yeah, I'm glad
We
we can
already
both
do
agree on that.
deficits.
I'm
We
glad
already
we
do
can both
deficit
agree on that.
spending.
Yeah, well,
We
deficit
already do
spending
deficit
is
spending.
not gonna change under whoever is president just because of Social Security and
No, well, it does.
Medicare.
It does. We had a surplus under Bill Clinton. The deficit went down under Obama. It went up under Trump,
Yeah,
and
but
it went down
with
under
how large
Biden.
Social Security and Medicare are, especially Social Security, just because the population is
Yeah, but
naturally aging, there's gonna be more
we
people.
had Social Security, and we had a surplus.
Yeah, well, we had a
So
surplus under Bill Clinton when the population was naturally younger. Now the population is naturally older. Is going to keep getting older with the lower birth rates in
we
America. So
we
there's going to
also
be more
have
people under
we have
Social
the difference
Security,
between us
and
and
because
like
of
the difference between us and like places in Europe and Asia is that we actually have immigration, and immigration
Europe has a
allows
lot
for
of
young
immigration.
working.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, we have not in every single place in Europe, right? Some places are really struggling with their population when it comes to supporting your social safety net. For America, we have a decent flow of immigration, and we'll always, at this point, have a young working population to support
Um,
the social safety net.
I mean, respectfully, have you not paid attention?
We
Let
don't
me
have a situation
let me make the point.
where
Let me make the point at least. Let me
you're
make the
making the
point at
point about
least.
social security. We don't have a
No. You
situation
brought up earlier the claim that
where
Europe doesn't have a steady stream of
well
immigration. That's
well
just not true at all. I mean, you look at the
some places don't.
past 10
And
years, Western
we're
Europe
talking about social
specifically,
security.
which has
We're
the
talking
lowest
about social
birth rates
security.
in Europe,
We're talking about
have
social
received a
security.
massive amount
And
of
with
immigration.
social security, you were warning that we're not going to be able to pay for it because people are going to get older. There's an interesting graph when you look at the sort of the age breakdown. Now, when it's sort of like this sort of mushroom shape, that means you have more older people than you have younger working people.
Yeah,
America does not have that problem. China artificially created that problem with like the one child policy. Japan kind
yeah,
of naturally got that problem, but we don't because we still have immigration. So I'm not
yeah.
really worried about how
And
we
the thing
fund Social
with
Security.
immigration is that with immigrants who are coming into the U.S., Pat Buchanan talks about in his book in Death of the West. Um, is that these immigrants who come in, they then adapt American cultures and then have lower birth rates as a result.
Yeah, well, we haven't really had a population problem of decreasing decreasing
No,
young
but
workers. So
this is
yeah,
programmed. Basically,
and
the UN,
plus,
the World Economic Forum, basically all the big
especially with
global
climate
organizations do
change,
agree that
especially
overall
with
the
climate change, we're
economic
going
shrinkage is
to
going to
continue
happen. Excuse
getting
me, population shrinkage is
immigrants.
going to happen. So
Maybe for other countries, but we'll see it for America.
for other, no,
Because
it's going to be worldwide. It's going to be
I
economic
think
crash.
especially in the global south, we're going to see definitely a decrease in population as certain areas of the world become less livable and are climate refugees. But for America, we're always going to be a destination for people to go. We've been at this
Not
for over 10
necessarily.
minutes, and I kind of want to end streaming soon, and there's somebody waiting in guest request, and I want to fulfill their request. So, yeah. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate you.
Sure. Have a good one. Have a good one.